Hello everyone, it is Gabriel from the Benchwarmers podcast. You might be a bit confused as to where this episode has come from. We are officially glad to be announcing that we are back on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Anchor. Going forward, all episodes will not only be posted on YouTube but also on there. If maybe you don't want to see our faces, I won't blame you. I clearly need a haircut and Josh is Josh, so he's not especially a very good looking guy. Nevertheless, all episodes will now be on there, and as well as that, we're going to do exclusive episodes on there if you want to go check them out, such as what I will be doing today. This episode in future probably won't be on YouTube, depending on how things go going forward. As it's Sky Bet League 2 breakdown and predictions, we've just done our championship predictions, which are on YouTube, but in future, our League 2 ones will just be on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can find it all on our social medias. There'll be a link in the description. And yeah, hope you're all well, and see you soon. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Benchwarmers podcast. This week we've got a bit of a different episode as my co-host Josh Sykes is currently not with me. The reason our dynamic works so well is as he is so used to the Premier League and Championship football. Being a Huddersfield Town fan, he's been watching it for years now. Less Premier League than Championship, I'll have to admit, as a stolty Bradford City fan. But as I'm a Bradford City fan, I'm more specialised with League 1, League 2 side of things, so that's why our dynamic works so well on the podcast. But I thought we'd utilise that today. This episode's going to be exclusive to Anchor, Apple Podcasts and Spotify podcasts. But I'm going to be breaking down all of the League 2 fixtures coming towards the Saturday the 31st of October, the Halloween weekend, and we're talking through them all, giving my predictions, breaking it down, who I think's going to win, how it's going to affect the table. And yeah, let's get straight into this. So the first game at St James's Park will be Exeter City against Carlisle, not Newcastle. In fact, the complete opposite side of the country in Exeter. Exeter, they're in very mediocre form right now. In the table, they currently sit in 6th position, so they've had quite a decent start, heading for the playoffs where I think most people will be expecting to finish towards the end of the season. In the last 4 games, they drew with Leyton Orient 1-1 on Tuesday night, beat Scunthorpe, which was quite a decent result before Scunthorpe, of course, unfortunately got their coronavirus results, which were, I'll talk about them more towards the Scunthorpe game, as long as it's not been postponed. I'm pretty sure it will have been postponed. Exeter then bet Crawley Town at St James's Park, and then they drew 0-0 with Walsall, who only just lost their unbeaten run. Saying that, Exeter are in really good form at home. Obviously, they've got 2 wins in the last 2 at St James's Park. Just checking before that if they won. Yeah, bet Cambridge United, which is obviously a massive result for them. They're not unbeaten at home, however, they did lose to Port Vale earlier on the season. Saying that, Carlisle United themselves, they've also had, I believe, a decent start. Yes, they're in 4th position. This is a massive game towards the table and what will probably happen towards the end of the season. But in Carlisle's previous game, they beat Morecambe 3-1. They drew 1-1 with Grimsby, drew 1-1 with Oldham Athletic. Not very good result from that. Bet Colchester United 3-2. Bet Port Vale, something Exeter couldn't do. So Carlisle they've had a good start, hence why they're in 4th position. In terms of the danger men for Carlisle, though, I think you've got to be looking at George Tanner, who he's been in good form. He came off the bench last game, and I thought he'd been starting, not going to lie to you, but Carlisle brought in, I think if you look back to mine and Josh's predictions, which you'll see could find on YouTube, not on Anchor unfortunately, but you can find them on YouTube. I personally predicted Carlisle United to finish quite high. I think actually might have predicted them to finish in 4th, which is, well, lucky. That's because I brought in so many new additions. Joshua Coyote came on loan from Rotherham United. Gimme Torre came in from non-league. Joe Riley from Bradford alongside Danny Devine. They've built such a strong squad of Carlisle, and I like the manager in Chris Beach because he's experienced. He's clearly done well with the squad. He knows the players he wants to bring in. He's brought them in, and now he's making it work with them. Whereas Exeter, I'm going to be completely honest, I cannot even tell you their manager's name. I'll just have to double check that very quickly whilst I keep talking. But obviously, they drew with Leyton Orient, which wasn't a fantastic result for Exeter at the weekend if they want to keep their ambitions going. Matt Taylor as manager, of course, the former player there. In Exeter's side, then, they've got a very good side, hence why they're constantly up there. The danger man, though, is without a doubt Randall Williams. Very surprised he managed to keep him past the summer transfer window. Was heavily linked with the likes of Peterborough United and Hull City in League 1 for a substantial fee. Of course, it was Jake Taylor, I believe, who scored at the weekend for them. He's been doing decent there as well. He's been there for quite a number of years now. A strong defence of Jack Sparks, Jake Caprice, obviously, formerly of Tranmere, Pierce Sweeney, Tom Parks. They've got a very good team of Exeter. However, saying that, so of Carlisle, I think it's going to be a very good game. It's going to come down to the tactical decisions. But, to be honest with you, just for the fact that Exeter have been in such good form at home and Carlisle, yes, they're in terrific form, hence why they've been doing so well recently. I don't know, I rate this Exeter City team. I think they'll be very well up there at the end of the season, with Ryan Bowman up top as well. He's a fantastic striker. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Exeter, just for the fact that I like Taylor more as manager than I do Chris Beach. Taylor's very new to the management game. His ideas are fresh. He's got a new sort of viewpoint towards the game, if that makes sense. He's been coached by previous managers, and he's now taking that into his own management style. I like that about Chris Beach, about Matt Taylor, and I think he could steal the points. To be fair to him, this coming game. Next up then is Leyton Orient versus Bolton Wanderers. As a Bradford City fan, it pains me to admit how well Bolton beat Bradford on Tuesday, but we'll start off with Leyton Orient. Currently, where they sit in the table is in, 13th position, so very mid-table. It's been an alright start for them. Not great. It's probably where they'll be expecting to be finishing around the end of the season, to be fair to them. Haven't got the biggest budget. That's nothing else to add about them. They've got a very decent team with the likes of Dan Happ and Josh Coulson at the back. Cisse in midfield is a big, strong, sort of ball-winning midfielder who I think could be very important for the season. Connor Wilkinson up top as well. He's got plenty of experience around the League 2 areas. He could do very decent. Scored at the weekend for them as well. Against Exeter, it was, to be fair to them. In terms of Leyton Orient's actual form, they beat Stevenage, bet Tranmere, lost to Grimsby. They've had, a very alright start, I think it's fair to say. They've been in decent form recently before. Well, saying that, I guess a draw against Exeter is a good result. So they're just picking up some form now. Whereas Bolton Wanderers, I unfortunately couldn't watch the game on Tuesday against Bradford City, which annoyed me a lot, as I was forced to work, but I'm not going to complain against my job and end up losing it. But they have had a very dire start to the season. I think Bolton fans will agree with that. Currently sitting in 16th position. I predicted them to finish top of the league in my actual predictions. Not looking good then, but they did beat Bradford on Tuesday. From what I've been told by my brother and my dad, it was apparently a very rubbish game. Apparently Bradford were the better side despite Bolton nipping the win. And, well, they both said they can understand why Bolton aren't doing very good. Ian Evatt, the manager, he wants to play a tiki-taka sort of football. It worked at Barrow, but this is a completely different team, completely different resources at his disposal, and it's not really working for him right now. I'm not saying to sack Ian Evatt. Obviously, they've just got a win, and they paid a lot of money to pry him from Barrow. However, I think the Bolton the Bolton board need to take a strong look at the management, because right now his tactics aren't exactly working with this team, and it's either do they back him even further and let him bring in more transfers, which could have, again, put a club in an even worse position than they're in before in terms of financially, or do they maybe look elsewhere for a newer manager who might be more suited to the players' preferred way of going forward, I guess. That being said, Bolton just started getting decent. Drew with Cambridge, which was quite a good result, and drew with Barrow, the Ian Evatt derby, so I'm going to start calling that going forwards. Lost to Oldham, drew with Grimsby, bet Harrogate, which actually is a great result being Harrogate. I didn't know Bolton managed that. It's not been a good start for Bolton Wanderers. I think if you're a fan there, you're especially going to be worried. They've had quite a few seasons now of absolute torment. I don't know. You got to feel bad for them, obviously. They got relegated from the Championship and the League One. They had no chance of staying up. They were playing the youth team. Started off the season on minus 12 points. Maybe if they had the money at their disposal, they'd be able to do better. Saying that, they built a full new squad practically for this season going forward. Oh, excuse me. And it's been the squad's not great, to be honest with you. Billy Crellin in net was publicly called out during the week by Ian Evatt, which apparently works. He saved a penalty against Bradford, so something clearly snapped in him. But yeah, Billy Crellin, I think he's decent between the sticks. He once had a lot of potential. I believe it was for Fleetwood Town. I've heard about him before. Ali Crawford and Anthony Sarcevic in the midfield. They are two of the best midfielders in this league. Crawford obviously came in from Hamilton when Bolton were in the League One, I want to say, maybe even the end of the Championship season. But he's a fantastic player. He should not be playing at this level. He's a good attacking midfielder. Probably one of the best in the league, to be fair to him. Again, Anthony Sarcevic was in the League 2 team this season at the end of last season, I believe again, but everyone thought he would get moved to the higher league after he turned down a new contract at Plymouth Argyle, especially after getting promoted to them. He was offered contracts supposedly by Salford City and Bolton Wanderers, and I have to agree with him in his move to Bolton. I think I'd choose them over Salford as well, depending on the money, I suppose. But anyway, Sarcevic, again, probably maybe the best midfielder in the league on his day. Nathan Delfonso up top got a goal on Tuesday. He's obviously starting to get into a bit of form, well known amongst EFL, I think even Premier League. I think he might play for Newcastle United a very long time ago. I've seen a lot of Bolton fans complaining on social media about Alex Baptiste's performance. Not quick enough, very old now, obviously had his day. His day is probably gone now. League 2, I don't know if that's his level, especially not for a club who wants to be pushing for promotion. It's clearly not to work so far. Ian Evatt's wanting to go forward with this 5 at the back formation, which he's so keen on, with Peter Chiozo and Harry Brockbank in the fullback positions. Brockbank is a centre-back. If I was Ian Evatt, maybe put Brockbank in for Baptiste and then play. I swear they've got a left wing back on the bench who, Jamie Maskell, who could easily do a very good job there. Yeah, I think Everton needs to relook at his team if he wants to be moving forward. Santos in the heart of the defence is a fantastic player. I'm not surprised he got a move back to EFL after his time at Barnet. I'm getting a bit off track here. Obviously, it's Bolton versus Leyton Orient. For me, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. I'm going to go for a Bolton victory, just for the fact that it's slightly picking up a bit of form. It depends, honestly, on if Ian Evatt is so keen on going forward with this formation. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Bolton. I think they'll scrape it again. Maybe even another Nathan Delfonsu goal. Or Crawford might pop up with one. You never know, he's capable of quite a lot. Next up then is Stevenage versus Grimsby Town. Stevenage very lucky to still be in the EFL, obviously. After the whole kerfuffle, I guess, at the end of last season with them in the EFL. With Macclesfield promotion. Not promotion, they wish. Relegation and obviously eventual dissolvement, which... you can see again in the podcast, me and Josh talked about it a while ago. Looks like they're hopefully reforming soon under the tutorship of Robbie Savage. Nevertheless, Stevenage, they've not had a fantastic start to the season as far as I'm concerned. They currently sit even worse than Bolton in 21st position, so definitely not. Just drew a 0-0 with Harrogate, lost 2-0 to Leyton Orient, lost to Newport, lost to Forest Green, drew in Mansfield, which was a big game looking back at it. Yeah, have they even picked up a victory yet this season? I'll have to double check that quickly. They picked up one victory all season in 9 games, which says a lot. Alex Ravel, I like him as a player. As a manager, it's his first season. You've got to give him time, I guess, to really put his tactics in place, to let him get used to management. As a team who were wanting to survive so badly, would you really be wanting an experienced manager at the helm? I guess he'll know the players, he'll have an instant connection with the fan base. Nevertheless, Stevenage's team is a not great one. I think when they got relegated to the National League originally, they started building straight away, as a team should, in my opinion. Bringing the likes of Marcus Dinangana from AFC Telford, Femi Akinwande from Braintree Town, I think it was. God, who else did they bring in who was a bit of maybe a non-league buy? Jack Smith, William Johnson, Ini Effiong. God, there's quite a few. Ross Marshall from Maidstone. They brought in a lot of players prepared for the National League. So obviously when they got put back up to League Two, it kind of smacked them in the face a bit, because they had all these players now contracted to the club who maybe weren't at the level of League Two, but maybe more National League level. It was always going to be a struggle this season. The signing of Romain Vincelot did dampen things a bit. Not dampen, soften the blow, we'll say that. As a Bradford fan, I watched him a few years ago when we got to the League One playoff final, how the tables have turned now. But Vincelot is a leader in the dressing room. He's an absolute warrior on the pitch. He's a quality signing for Stevenage. I think I would have taken him back at Bradford, who I wanted to be pushing for the playoffs. And Josh predicted they would be, but we'll talk about them a bit later. Along with that, Elliot List on the wing. He's very pacey, very quick, formerly of Gillingham, good player again. Scott Cuthbert at the back, alongside Ben Coker and even Luke Prosser. 3 defenders there who are experienced, know this league very well, and yeah, I think they could be very important to coming back to Stevenage's hopeful survival. And of course, Jamie Cumming in there, who's, honestly, I'm just going to put this out there, one of the best goalkeepers in the league, which might be controversial, but I've seen some of his saves so far. It was obviously in about the Chelsea ranks last season, I believe. Maybe the 3rd or 4th goalkeeper behind the likes of Kepa, Caballero. I'm going to say Caballero. He's a decent keeper. I'm surprised he came to Stevenage. I think he could play League One level, to be fair to him. He's had a good start for them as well, which is really good. I've completely forgot they're playing. Compared to Grimsby Town, and Grimsby, if I'm not wrong, have had a decent start to the season. No, they've not. They're in 19th position. I completely apologise. Wow. Grimsby, yeah, obviously they've been a bit controversial as well with Ian Holloway. He's called out Bradford, he's called out the EFL for how they've dealt with the coronavirus. Obviously not the EFL's fault, but yeah. Saying matters such as how, I think it was Grimsby who postponed the game. It was against Bradford, that's why I know so much about it, but Ian Holloway forced EFL to postpone the game due to the fact that Grimsby had a youth player who had tested positive for coronavirus. Only one tested positive, and he was out on loan at another club, but was forced to make all the Grimsby games be postponed. It's left Grimsby with quite a few games in hand, I believe. Only one now, but originally it was a lot more than that. Yeah. Nevertheless, in terms of form, they've just been beaten by Forest Green, drew all 1-1 with Carlisle, lost to Harrogate. The last win came on the 17th of October, and that's a lot of games to come, actually, in the space of, 10 days at the time of recording this. It was the 29th of October. But, yeah, Holloway, I rate him as a manager. Obviously, he's done it in the Premier League of Blackpool all those years ago, QPR. Trying to think of someone else, I can't even think. God, anyway. As a person, I absolutely despise him. I think he's very big-headed, as he's shown in recent weeks. But his team, he's got a decent team to be fair to him. Luke McGee, that's the Forest Green team, sorry. Jack McKeown, God, I'm on a terrible roll today. Jack McKeown in goal is a very good goalkeeper. Experienced, he's been at Grimsby for a number of seasons. I see he does a lot of good charity work on social media as well. James Hansen up top is a big target man. He's used to bullying the defenders. He'll definitely be a handful for them, and yeah, it's a complete problem for them to be fair. Tilly on the wing, again, alongside Windsor. I've seen a lot of people rating about Windsor on social media again. A very tricky winger who apparently is, thriving there. I think he's on loan from someone. Just going to double check that. On loan from West Bromwich Albion. Yeah, he's young. He's very young and he's doing very well at Grimsby under an experienced Holloway. So I bet he's loving getting the experience there. Along with that, against Forest Green, Grimsby dominated the game, having 65% possession. A lot better pass accuracy. They completed 557 passes compared to Forest Green's 310 passes. So Grimsby are going to look to dominate this game against a Stevenage team who aren't the greatest in midfield, if we're being completely honest. And other than Vincelot, they've got Arthur Reed, who's, I think, only just making his first sort of professional start for the club, coming from a Luton Town development squad or whatever it is. And Elliot Osborne, who's more of he's just come from Stevenage, so he's not really used to, as far as I'm concerned, 24 years old, just double check this, he's not used to EFL football. He did it briefly with Morecambe in 2017, but other than that, yeah, he's not used to EFL football. He's just come in for Stevenage, had a decent start to fair, scoring winning goal in 6 games from the midfield position. But Grimsby, they're going to look to dominate this game. I think they will dominate this game, and I think Grimsby are going to come out of victory, because for me, this Stevenage squad is not good enough to go forward. And yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Grimsby. I think we'll see another Owen Windsor masterclass. Next up then, it is Barrow versus Bradford City, something I know a bit more about. Barrow currently sitting in 18th position compared to Bradford City in 15th position. I'm not saying it's a boring game, but it's one which towards the end of the season might not matter, judging from the way the two clubs are going right now. Starting off then, I think we've got to start with Barrow. They've had a very alright start, I'm going to say, to the life in the EFL. I think a lot of people not really heard of them before they came to the EFL. They were always one of those teams who were just kind of there in the National League, and then they had a really good season and obviously got promoted. Just a second, sorry. Yeah, Barrow, I'm just reading now, they got their first victory against Mansfield Town on Tuesday, which is their first one in the EFL, I believe, which is good. That was a great result, ended up in Graham Coughlan's sacking at Mansfield, of course. But Bradley Barry, Patrick Brow, Josh Kay, Harrison Biggins, all on the score sheet. In terms of the actual Barrow team, of course, sorry, I thought I pressed stop recording then. Luke James and Dior Angus up top are two very promising strikers. James did it mainly in non-league again with Hartlepool. I think he even played for them when they were in the EFL, but he had a brief spell away, then came back. He's a very decent striker. I think he probably deserves a chance in the EFL. I don't think he's really done so well so far, especially as Barrow have only just picked up their first win. Angus, again, he did it alright for Portville, but never really broke through to their first team. That's what his Barrow team is. It feels like a lot of players who have just not quite broken into the first team of other clubs, and therefore have come to Barrow, and now they're in the first team there. For example, Matthew Platt wasn't really getting anywhere at Blackburn, so he's come back to Barrow after his loan last season. A very decent player once again. Just checking something. Jason Taylor, 33 years old, is a bit of a warrior in midfield. He's been at the club for a while now, I believe. And yeah, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know much about this Barrow team. Sam Hurd in defence, again, another comfortable head on shoulders. Patrick Brow was at Morecambe a few years ago. They're an alright team. They've got a few very capable players, such as Callum Gribbin on the bench, Chris Taylor. Obviously, he's got a lot of experience. Again, he was on the bench against Mansfield. They've got a decent team with Barrow. I think they'll be finishing where they are about at the end of this season, towards 18th position. Probably not really being too threatened by relegation, but then again, not just around mid-table, not quite pushing for the playoffs. That's the sort of atmosphere I'm getting from this club right now. I think it's David Dunn, I think he was the manager is. David Dunn, former Blackpool, probably a bit of an icon there, to be fair to him. I like him. He's new to management, of course, other than stuff he's done in youth teams and as assistant managers. I think I like him. I'm going to say I think he's an ideal replacement for Ian Evatt. I think he'll do quite well there. Moving on then to who they're playing, Bradford City. Right, I know a bit more about Bradford because I watch them week in, week out, other than a few recent games due to work, but things are in turmoil right now at that club. You'll see it on social media. Fans are in uproar. I know that they were refunded their iFollow passes that they may have purchased on Tuesday. I know that iFollow also didn't work on Tuesday for many people, so I don't know if that's because of the performance was so dire and it was an awful result, or whether it was more just iFollow wasn't working, which probably is, to be fair. Nevertheless, this Bradford team does not impress me or really any of the fans right now. Richard O'Donnell's the main man between the sticks. Captain fantastic. He's usually ever present. He's not been in great form recently, obviously, with Bradford conceding quite a lot, such as the 3-0 defeat to... I've completely forgotten. That's really bad, actually. Newport, that's who. Other than their 3-0 defeat to Newport, Richard O'Donnell is probably the best player, to be honest, at the moment. His distribution is not great, however, his shot stopping at times can be unstoppable. Connor Wood left back alongside Bryce Osana on the other side. Bryce is on loan from Leeds United. Leeds fans are very excited about how he can go forward for the club. Connor Wood was with us for the last 2 seasons now. Definitely a fan favourite. People begging for him to sign a new contract. If I'm being completely honest, if I was Connor Wood, why would I sign a new contract? He could be playing at League One level. Was linked to the likes of Gillingham earlier on in the season. We've got Callum Cook and Elliot Watt in midfield too. Again, very capable midfielders. Need to build themselves like a partnership between them. Maybe spend some time off the pitch as well as on it, just to get more chemistry, because together they could be 2 of the most dangerous midfielders in the league. The main problem for the club right now is definitely up top. Clayton Donaldson and Billy Clark were the 2 strikers going into the Bolton game, with Austin Samuels on the bench. Samuels is never really played at a professional level. He's been in the Wolves development squad. He was at Kidderminster Harriers last season, where he didn't score a goal in National League North, which tells you about Bradford's striking problems right now. He scored for the Wolves under-23s in the EFL Cup during the week when Bradford played them, and then a few days later Bradford signed him. Feels like a bit of a panic buy, like they've watched him and then brought him in. Donaldson's really past it, if being completely honest, probably at non-league level at this point. Don't get me wrong, he can hold up the ball. He'll maybe bully defences every now and then, but it's like watching a donkey run forward, if being completely honest. He's very... I don't know what it is. He has very long legs, if that makes sense. So, like, he'll kick the ball, and then his legs just look like they're all over the place. Billy Clark was obviously up front and a nightmare, missed a penalty on Tuesday. But then you've got the other strike options. Lee Novak, who's a decent start to Fed. I feel sorry for him because he just needs a very capable strike partner next to him, and he could be lethal in this league. I believe he's currently up there with League 2 top scorers. I was out of a slight knock, I believe, against the Bolton. Hence the Bolton. I don't know why I said that. Against Bolton, hence why he didn't play on Tuesday. But Curtis Guthrie, I'm going to be taking a minute to talk about Curtis Guthrie, was the weirdest signing for me in Bradford history. Well, since I've been watching them, because I know that's quite a big statement, but Curtis Guthrie was not doing it at Stevenage, who were bottom of the league in January of last season. Bradford were pushing for the playoffs, and we just let striker and captain James Vaughan go out on loan to Tranmere Rovers, which was a bit strange. He clearly had an argument with the then manager Gary Boyer, hence why he left. But anyway, Boyer spent money to bring in a relegation striker, Guthrie, who'd not been doing it at the bottom of the league. He actually spent money to bring this striker into our club. Fans were obviously not going to get... Well, they didn't exactly back him, which probably didn't help his motivation going forward, but looked at him and thought, this striker's not been doing it at a good enough team. He's not going to do it at our team. You can say he's not getting the service, but in reality, he's never really done it, if that makes sense. He's always managed to get contracts at quite decent clubs, like he's been in National League, League 2 level. However, he's never actually really... I don't know what the word is... profited from it. I don't know, other than obviously his wage bill. So when he came to Bradford, fans were a bit like on the fence, if that makes sense. He didn't really play that rhymed. He didn't really play for the second half of the last season because of injuries and knocks. So going into the season, fans felt like he was a bit of a new signing, if that makes sense. However, we wish he was a new signing. We received a bid from him from Crewe Alexandra, reportedly, an actual fee as well. And God knows why the club didn't take it, because that would be an absolute steal. He's probably going to end up getting mutual termination, knowing the amount of hate he gets on social media. But he can't finish for his life. Say he's like 6'4", 6'3", whatever it is. He's an absolute massive tower of a striker. He can't hit a ball. He doesn't even chance with the ball. He seems like a very lazy player who expects the ball to just go in the right position for him. And at a club like Bradford, where our midfield last week on Tuesday had Finkers and Dawson, a player from the youth system who was making his professional debut. And we don't quite have really the wingers in the club right now. We have Dylan Motley-Henry, who I'm not going to get into him. Guthrie needs to be doing more for the club. He needs to be moving more around, linking up more with Lee Novak or Donaldson or even Billy Clark when he needs to. Just right now, he shouldn't be anywhere near that first team. He had a knock on Tuesday, hence why he wasn't. Fans have been begging for Stuart McCall to come out of the club. Yeah, nevertheless, I'm going to leave it there. But I am going to also predict a Barrow win. I just don't like this Bradford side right now. They're not impressing anyone, to be honest with you. It's at Barrow Stadium as well. I couldn't even tell you the name. Saying that, Barrow just picked up their first victory on Tuesday against Mansfield, which was a huge one for them as a football club. For that, I'm going to go for 2-0 Barrow. I'm not feeling optimistic for Bradford whatsoever. Moving on then, Newport County versus Harrogate Town. Like I mentioned before, Newport did just beat Bradford City 3-0, which was a great result for them. As a club, obviously a Welsh side. I went there away last season with a few friends, which was a great away. They have a very strange away stand with no roof. It reminds me of Gillingham a bit. They're in very good form, hence why they're so high up in the table. I believe the top of the league. Yeah, they are. Oh, sorry. Didn't even notice that. 22 points out of a possible 27. Very good record for Michael Flynn, which is debated one of the best managers in the league. Just bet Colchester, just bet Bradford, just bet Stevenage, just bet Tranmere. Lost to Cambridge and lost to Norwich City under 21s 5-0. God. Saying that, they're in absolutely fantastic form right now. Sorry, I said check them out. They're in fantastic form, if we're being completely honest. I'm really impressed with their side. Michael Flynn's a great manager. Their team, they prefer to go with more of a 5 at the back formation, maybe. With the likes of Cooper, Demetriou, Liam Shepherd and Ryan Haynes on the wings. Maybe even Matt Dolan fitting into that centre-back position or more of a CDM position. In terms of going forward, they have Scott Twine, Tristan Abrahams, Podrick Amond, who is, I believe, in decent form. He got the winner against Newport and he scored as well against Bradford on the Tuesday. They got the experience of like Kevin Ellison, Jamie Proctor, even Scott Bennett on the bench. They've just got a really nice mixture of youth, experience and quality in that team. Josh Sheehan's a fantastic player alongside Josh Labadie in the midfield. I really like the look of them too. Abrahams, Twine, Cooper, 3 youngsters who are all going to be ones for the future perhaps. I think they're all on loan, not going to lie to you. Saying that, if we do well at those clubs, and they say they go back to the other clubs, but they just don't quite make it, so just Cooper will be going to Swansea, who maybe might not be looking for a youth centre-back. Or I think Tristan Abrahams, I can't remember which club he's on loan for. Is he there permanently? I'm just going to double check this, sorry. Oh, he's there permanently, forget that then. He's a great addition to have to the team. He's starting for them right now, he's just 21 years old, he's doing well in front of goal. I really like him as a footballer, and I think he's doing well for them right now. So in terms of Newport, I think you can only really look at this result with a victory for them against Harrogate Town. I just need to quickly get them up. They've had a decent start to the season as well. They've kind of adapted to life in League 2 accordingly. Obviously, they grabbed the headline on the opening day of the season, absolutely smashing Southend United. I think it was 4-0. Nevertheless, just drew Stevenage, lost to Colchester, bet Grimsby, bet Barrow, bet Bradford, bet Leicester City under 21s. They went in a bit of a run. They've slowed down a bit now, drawing to Stevenage and losing to Colchester. But it's left them in a healthy league table position. They're currently in 8th position. I think many fans would just be happy with them staying in the EFL, but right now, under the guideship of Simon Weaver, they are heading towards the playoffs, which is great. And you can see on my social medias, on my Twitter, I did an article regarding Simon Weaver and Irving Weaver, who is the current owner of Harrogate Town FC, about how the Weaver family sort of saves that club from... They had the option to drop down 2 leagues below the National League North, or for his father, Irving, to buy the club. And obviously it's worked for them because he's propelled them to League 2. It's going to be very awkward the day that Simon Weaver has to leave the club for whatever reason, and Irving has to have that conversation with his own son. Saying that, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a real good game. Newport top of the league. They're in red hot for it now. Harrogate, maybe if they don't just draw on with, Stevenage, or lost to Colchester, they could possibly get something out of this game. However, there's no stopping Newport right now. Michael Flynn's an absolutely fantastic manager. Surprised he hasn't got a move up to a higher division club, to be honest with you. I think at the time, it reminds me a lot of the Cowley brothers right now. How the 2 youngish managers who really came from the lower leagues and have built their way up now. Just got started from Huddersfield Town, but a constant linked with Championship clubs as recently as Barnes, and I think it was Bristol City, I want to say. I can't remember, to be honest. Big clubs to be linked with. Michael Flynn, I feel like he's probably going to have that going forward very soon. He's a great manager, doing fantastic at Newport, and if he keeps this up, I could see him getting a contract elsewhere, a much big club. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Newport. I can see this Harrogate Town team getting past the defence of Newport. They've got strikers such as John Stead, his experience, Jack Muldoon, George Thompson. Them 2 on either wing are absolutely quality, to be fair to them. Harrogate also go for like a 5 at the back formation with Hall, Will Smith and Warren Burrell as like the 3-man centre-backs, with Calvin Miller, former Celtic, and Ryan Fallowfield on the 2 wing-backs. I like this Harrogate team. It's very good. Falkingham in midfield is an absolute trooper. He'll get forward, he'll get back, he'll battle, he'll put absolutely 110% into every single tackle. I really like him as a player. I think, again, he will be getting a move higher up a league, probably, maybe even as soon as January. I think he will, if Harrogate, everything does go wrong and they do somehow drop back down to non-league, he won't be going back with them. I'm going to go for 2-1 victory to Newport. I do like both of these teams, and I just think it's going to be a close one, to be fair. Next up, then, we have El Clásico, debatably the biggest game of the weekend, as Cheltenham Town faced Forest Green Rovers. Cheltenham currently sit 5th in the league, whereas Forest Green Rovers are 3rd. That's why it's such a big game. Not only could it be absolutely huge at the end of the season, it's also a big derby, and everyone loves a derby day in Gloucestershire. I think it's Gloucestershire, or is it Gloucestershire? Sorry, I always get this wrong because it's pronounced it's spelled strangely. Nevertheless, Cheltenham, they're not in fantastic form. Just was defeated by Portville and drew 0-0 with Mansfield, and Mansfield have been in absolutely abysmal form. Obviously, also listed to Grimsby. However, they've beaten Southend and beaten Scunthorpe in recent weeks. Two teams are also struggling. That being said, in this Cheltenham team, they've got quite a decent few players. Had a very good season last season, hoping to replicate that under Michael Duff, obviously. Team consists of Will Boyle, Ben Tozer, Charlie Raglan, 3 very strong centre-backs who look calm on the ball, whilst also being, reliable on the ball, I guess you could say. Again, another team plays 5 at the back with Hussey on one side. I think it's Thomas who might play on the other side, could be wrong about that. A strike force of Adam Main, Adney Williams, 2 former Doncaster Rovers strikers. Them 2 have been, promising this season. Williams scored on Tuesday against Portville. Cheltenham Town, I went there away last season, and they have a very small ground, if that makes sense. No disrespect to Cheltenham Town and other fans, or even the club, to be honest, but they're one of those teams you'd expect to maybe not really pushing for the playoffs, but right now they are overachieving, they're doing very well for themselves, and it's really interesting to watch from an outside perspective. I'm sure other managers in the league probably going to be taking 1 or 2 things from Michael Duff's side. Whereas Forest Green, they're neighbours really, they're in decent form. Just bet Grimsby Town, bet Morecambe, which is quite a big result because Morecambe are up there. Did lose Colchester, bet Stevenage, bet Scunthorpe 4-1, bet Forest Green's youth side, bet drew all with 1-1 with Walsall. They're looking very good right now, Forest Green. They've got momentum going to this game, which is exactly what they need. Got a very good side with the strikers of Jamil Matt and Jake Young up top, 2 very good strikers who work off of each other. Jamil Matt being the more of the physical presence, whereas Young can be more of a poacher, getting in behind with Matt's flick-ons. Elliot Whitehouse and Carl Winchester in midfielders are 2 more defensive ones. They've been doing very well for themselves, with Odin Bailey on loan from Birmingham just ahead of them. He was on loan last season. He came back for this campaign. He's doing very well for himself, to say the least. Nicky Cadden on the wing. He's a very decent player. I was surprised that he came to League 2 level. I think he might have been at... Just going to double check this. He's not the player I thought he was. I'm going to go Chris Cadden. My bad, who plays some other well. Nevertheless, I don't really know about Nicky Cadden, but I believe he's had a decent start, judging from social media. I follow all the League 2 clubs, so I see everyone's reaction, or the fan reaction, just so I can more involve it. Saying that, Forest Green are currently 3rd in the league with momentum, whereas Cheltenham are 5th in the league, and are coming off the back of a defeat. But I'm actually going to back Cheltenham here. It's at the Johnny Rock Stadium, great name for a stadium. Michael Duff's a great manager against Mark Cooper, I believe still the Forest Green manager. He is. 2 great managers going up against each other, 2 very strong sides going up against each other. I believe both will be up there towards the end of the season, maybe one of them getting promoted. However, saying that, Cheltenham, they're at home, on home turf, while the fans may unfortunately not be there to back the boys. I just think Cheltenham, they're going to be vying to get back onto winning ways. They've kind of hit a bit of a rut right now, drawing 0-0 with Mansfield and losing to Portville, and for that alone, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Cheltenham. I think it'll be a very good performance from Michael Duff's boys. He needs it, to be fair to him, if he wants to get the bragging rights over his neighbours. Next up then, Mansfield Town are hosting Walsall. A game which is probably more of a... What's the word? Maybe... I'm not saying a boring game, but it's kind of like... For Walsall, anyway, it's not a big game because Walsall... Oh, God, I've completely lost this. Walsall, at the end of the season, will probably maybe just slightly push it for the playoffs, but probably maybe just suffer... I've completely butchered this segment. Just settling for mid-table at the end of the day. I believe they've only just lost their unbeaten run, which is quite decent for them. Yeah, 1 defeat, which came at the hands of Cambridge United on Tuesday. I'm so sorry, I'm currently reading everything, so I'm just trying to get up to date because I haven't really been following Walsall. So I'll start off with Mansfield, why don't I? Because they've just sacked the manager Graham Coughlin after his defeat to Barrow on Tuesday. It's understandable. Mansfield seem to do this for the past 2 seasons now. They throw a lot of money at the club, bring in a lot of high-profile signings who just don't perform under the manager, and they finished terribly in the league. I think they finished 22nd last season, and they're currently 22nd now, 9 games in with just 5 points. The only reason they're not doing very good is because of Southend, who obviously have their transfer embargo, and Scunthorpe have a game in hand and have been heavily hit down by the coronavirus. Nevertheless, Mansfield Town, not in good form whatsoever. However, are one of the strongest teams in the league for me personally. Andy Cook and Nicky Maynard up top are two very good strikers. Maynard, obviously, I think he'll briefly left the club at the end of the season. Was linked with Bradford and Port Vale before coming back to the Stags. Made some good signings with the likes of McLaughlin, George Lapsley, Farron Rawson, Marek Steck between the sticks. I think he made a mistake on Tuesday. Nevertheless, sorry about that. Just another through bit. Nevertheless, he's a very capable goalkeeper. He's been doing well for Luton Town towards League One and Championship level. So a very good steal, to be fair to him, for Mansfield Town. But yeah, I think it all comes down to Nicky Maynard and Andy Cook, two very good strikers at this level. Will hopefully play off each other. Saying that, they're not going to have a manager currently at the club, I don't believe. As far as I'm concerned, on Thursday the 29th, they've not brought anyone new in. They might bring someone in on the Friday who might just have a word with the players before the game and get them motivated for it. But it looks like they might be going into this game with a caretaker manager. They'll also be without O'Driscoll at the back, who unfortunately picked up a red card against Barrow on Tuesday. Yeah, it's not looking good for Mansfield, and they just need a manager who can really propel them forward. Graham Coughlin's a great manager, but yeah, it just wasn't clicking between him and Mansfield. It hasn't really for quite a while now. Their opponents, though, Walsall, obviously just got defeated by Cambridge United, so they'll be hoping to get back to winning ways after the defeat. After, obviously, the loss to unbeaten run. They've got a very good goalkeeper in Liam Roberts, who will be hard to get past. However, Andy Cook and Nicky Maynard, like I said before, two good strikers, could possibly break him down. Elijah Adebayo up top is a very strong, physical target man who will bully defences, hold up the ball, wait for the runs of Rory Holdham, Lavery, Wes McDonald. McDonald, again, I think he scored an absolute worldie last season, was up there for the EFL goal of the season at one point. Great winger. He's got all the talent in the world, I guess. He's young, came from Birmingham. I don't have anything else to add on him, to be honest with you, but behind him, he's even got George Nurse, a left-back who scored an absolute worldie against Bradford. This Walsall team, I feel like could be dark horses this season. I think in my predictions, I predicted them to finish like lower mid-table towards the relegation zone, to be honest, because they didn't really bring anyone massive in of note. However, I think for Darryl Clark, it's been more a case of just holding on to the same squad, building team chemistry and using it to his full abilities, I guess. Yeah, they've got a decent team. I don't know what else to add about that. Same with Mansfield, though, but Mansfield will be without a manager. Walsall have got a good manager in Darryl Clark and will be looking to bounce straight back. For that alone, I'm going to go for a 1-0 Walsall. I don't think this game's going to light the world of light. Nevertheless, I don't think it'll be a stalemate. I think Walsall will come away with a victory. Next up then, 17th place Tranmere Rovers take on 12th place Morecambe. Tranmere, like Bolton really, haven't had a good start to the season, not the one they hoped for, especially after they were so close to staying up last season in League One, but obviously the coronavirus happened. Arguments between Nicola Palios, their owner, went down on social media between her and the EFL. Whereas Morecambe, I believe, have had quite a decent start. I'm going to quickly go check that because I don't want to get anything wrong and mess up the entire podcast, because Josh would probably, he'd have a go at me. So, Morecambe, they had a good start, but they've kind of just hit a bit of a rut. They lost 3-1 to Carlisle, lost to Forest Green, Dew and Mansfield, lost 4-0 to Crawley. However, then before that, they bet Morecambe. Bet Oldham, they bet Port Vale, bet Southend, bet Cheltenham, bet Oldham again. Yeah, it's been an alright start for Morecambe. I think every season people predict Morecambe to finish near the relegation zone. They're defying those odds right now and pushing more towards an outside shot for the playoffs. They've got quite a decent team, to fair to them as well. Jan Songo, as defender, scored an own goal. He's giving Carlisle the lead on Tuesday and then going up the other end and scoring admittedly 78 minutes apart, but still, good for him. They've got likes of Aaron Wildig in there. Carlos Mendes Gomez is a very good winger, tricky. I believe he's come from the youth squad or has come from Preston's youth squad and then come across to them or something like that. It's confusing. Sam Lavelle and Nathaniel Knight Percival at the back. Lavelle is, for me, the most underrated player, debatably in League Two, especially as a centre-back. He's young and he's come from the Morecambe Youth Academy. He's a captain at the club. I like him, I would love him to come to Bradford just for the fact that he's got leadership abilities and he's only like 22, 23 years old. There's something about him. I just like him. I like him as a player. Alongside Knight Percival and Kelvin Miller, two former Bradford players who, Knight Percival, for me, has been past it for a number of seasons. He wasn't getting into the team at Carlisle. He stopped getting into the team at Bradford. He's come to Morecambe. He is starting for the club, I guess, which is good for him. Primarily a left-footed centre-back compared to Lavelle, who's a right-footed centre-back. That works really well for them. Yeah, Morecambe are not in good form. Saying that, neither Tranmere just lost 4-0 to Crawley, bet Southend, lost to Leyton Orient, lost to Newport, drew with Salford. Things aren't looking good for either of these two clubs, to be honest with you. They're both on a bit of a downward spiral after, well, I'm not even going to say a good start to the season, maybe for Morecambe, but Tranmere were expected to be up there. I think I might have placed them in the playoffs, and if you go back and watch, you'll remember that Josh actually forgot completely about Tranmere as a club and didn't even put them in his League 2 predictions. Don't know how he managed that. But, yeah, Tranmere, God, they're going to be so eager to bounce back. I'm sorry, I'm at house sitting a cat right now. It's just running around doing some bizarre stuff. Tranmere will be hoping to bounce back after their 4-0 defeat to Crawley Town, but so will Morecambe after losing 3 to Carlisle. For that alone, I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw. I don't know. These two teams have got very good teams. I just can't really see them breaking each other down, to be honest with you. Next up then, Southend United versus Portville. This game's only going to go one way for me. Portville in 7th position, Southend in 24th. It has not been a good start for Southend. They only just got relegated from League 1 as well. Looks to me like they're going to be doing a bit of a Chesterfield sort of situation, going straight down to the National League. I think I predicted them to finish towards the relegation zone in my predictions. I'm not too sure again about Josh. I'll have to go back and double check that maybe. Just a second, sorry. Southend then, they've got 2 points all season, yet to win a game. They've drawn 2, lost 7. Just lost to Oldham in a 90th minute victory for the Latics. Lost to Tranmere, lost to Salford, lost to Cheltenham. I don't really know what else to worry about them. They've got the transfer embargo currently looming over the club. I like the manager, Mark. Is it Mark Mosley? I believe it is. I'll just quickly go check that. Yeah, Mark Mosley. He's a talented manager who's come from Weymouth. He did very well to get them promoted to the National League despite all the odds. Something I think Southend, the board, were hoping to replicate with them. Not got a good enough squad for this league right now, but couldn't bring in signings to improve it. The main man for them, for me, is Timothy Dieng. Obviously, I watched him at his time in Bradford. I haven't really heard anything of him at Southend, but he's playing centre back for them. He's a really decent, lanky, I don't think I say lanky, actually, very tall, we'll say that, French sort of defensive player. Alongside Harry Lennon as well in defence, obviously former Charlton. They've not got a good team of Southend. When your striker is Emile Aqua, and he doesn't even have Wikipedia, but he's meant to be the main leading frontman in League 2, you know there's a problem with him. Nathaniel George couldn't even get into the Crawley Town team, and Southend have picked him up. Egbury and Olayinka are 2 players I've never even heard of, so I'm not going to try to talk about them in the Southend side. They need more for their club, but they can't currently have more, as awful as that sounds. I am going to go for Portville win. I'll quickly break Portville down though. Portville beat Cheltenham, beat Oldham, lost to Cambridge as many teams have. We'll talk a bit about Cambridge later. Bet Salford, lost to Carlisle, bet Wigan. Portville have had a really decent start to the season. I predicted in my predictions that they do quite well. I really like Portville as a club just for mutual sort of relationships I've got with them, with people I know who support them. Last season I think it was really gracious of them how they actually said to end the season and put lives first, even though they were like 2 points or something like that off the playoffs, which was remarkable of them, really. I like the new ownership they've got going there with, I think it's an Irish name, I can't remember her name, the owner of Portville. Saying that, they've got a really good team as well, David Amu and David Worrell. The two Davids on the wing are very dangerous for them. Davidrous? No? Okay. David Worrell got man of the match for them during the week. They've got a really good midfield behind them too, with Scott Burgess, Luke Joyce and Tom Conlon. Conlon's one of those who I believe should debatably be playing at a higher level. Theo Robertson is the main striker. He's got the backup of Tom Pope as well as Devontae Rodney coming off the bench. Even Mark Cullen. They have 3 strikers on the bench who are all very capable at this level. Scott Brown in between the sticks is I keep saying debatably, but he is one of the best goalkeepers in this league, if being completely honest. Leon Legg and Nathan Smith ahead of him. This Portville team is absolutely flourishing with quality. I think they could be pushing for the automatics come the end of the season, at least playoffs as they are doing right now. I think there could be an absolute whitewash at Southend Stadium, Roots Hall. I'm going to go 4-0 Portville. Honestly, Southend's team is appalling, to be honest with you. There's nothing good coming out of them right now. They need signings. They're not going to be able to get signings. Unfortunately, it's going to be relegation, it looks like, at the end of the season, which is obviously a shame. Portville might be going the other way, maybe going towards promotion. We'll have to wait and see with them. But, yeah, on to the next team then. It's Crawley Town versus Cambridge United. Crawley coming off the back of a huge 4-0 victory over Tranmere Rovers. That's a brilliant result for them as a club. Before that, drew 1-1 with Salford, lost to Exeter, beat Morecambe 4-0. They're quite like dishing out 4-0 victories to Crawley. Could maybe see the win against Cambridge, but very unlikely. During the week for Crawley then, who made the star for in their team, Max Waters, or Waters, how you want to pronounce that. He has been outstanding since joining the club on a free transfer from Doncaster Rovers, I believe it was. But him on top with Tom Nichols has been working for them. Jake Heskiv was once linked with a few Championship teams and League One teams. He's managed to end up at Crawley. Again, a really good player. Jay Casantala and Jack Powell in midfield. Them two have a really good partnership with Sam Matthews as well in there, former Bristol Rovers. They've got a decent team at Crawley. I think they could again be slight dark horses going forward. In terms of the actual table, however, they sit in 9th position, so they've got an outside shot right now. They're probably going to be pushing there towards the end of the season. I don't really think else to add about Crawley. They've got a good team. John Yems, I don't know if everyone's seen the interview we did during a few weeks ago with the press. He was very rude and a bit obnoxious towards him, if that makes sense. And for that, I don't really like him as a manager. However, he's clearly working right now at Crawley, which is good to see. Compared to Cambridge United, who have been doing phenomenal currently at the club. Sorry, I just got a notification I had to quickly read. They've been doing brilliant, to be honest with you. They currently sit right up there in 2nd position, just behind Newport County, just 2 points behind Newport as well, so this a victory on Saturday could be huge for them. Just beat Walsall, draw with 1-0 with Bolton, bet Portvale 3-1, bet Scunthorpe 5-0, bet Newport 2-1, bet neither of those sides realised how big that result was until this point. They've beaten Morecambe 5-0. And to be honest with you, Paul Mullin up top has been in absolutely brilliant form. He's been getting hat-tricks, scoring penalties. I believe he will currently be the top scorer in the league. He's been outstanding, to be fair to him. Joe Ironside up top alongside him has been really good. Luke Haddon, again, another real good player, has been doing well for them. I'm not really going to focus on this Cambridge United team because they've kind of been like sussed out by most pundits right now at this point, how they play, how well they've been doing. They've got some really good depth coming off the bench like Harry Darling, Idris El Mazouni. You can see my thoughts and Josh's thoughts on Cambridge United in an interview we did with Ian Mather, which is up on the YouTube channel right now. He's the sort of director of football, I believe. No, sorry, he's a chief executive at the club. And yeah, he's a great person, and that's why I kind of want Cambridge to do decent, as they are doing right now. And I think for me, I get up against a very decent Crawley Town. I'm going to have to go for Cambridge. Right now, they're unstoppable at times, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Cambridge. Max Waters, I believe he will get a goal for Crawley. He's been in really good form and he looks like a really good player. Saying that, there's no stopping Paul Mullin right now. Probably one of the best strikers in the league, as shown by his red-hot form. I think it might be on to the final game now. Quick check that. We are Salford City against Oldham Athletic. The Paul Scholes derby. I'm not going to call it that. But everyone knows what happened between Salford, Oldham, Paul Scholes, all that when Salford were in the National League last season. Salford have had a good start to the season. Double check that quickly. It's been alright, 10th position. I think myself and Josh predicted them to be up there at the end of the season towards the title, to be honest with you. I think most people will, with the money going into that club and just the backing they've got. I think they've got links with a Valencia owner who obviously he'll be pumping hundreds of millions into Valencia, and for him to be back in a League 2 side like Salford, that is immense for the fans of the club. They've not been terrific form, to be honest with you, a bit up and down, a bit of a yo-yo side. Drew 1-0 with Crawley, but bet Southend 3-0, but then lost to Port Vale, but drew with Tranmere, then bet Stevenage. There's not really form going on right now. It's just like win, draw, lose, win, draw, lose. They need to pick up a bit of momentum if they want to be heading towards the playoffs/automatics. They've got some great players in there, as you imagine, with the amount of money being pumped into clubs such as Jason Lowe, Jordan Turnbull, who was absolutely influential for Northampton's promotion last season, James Wilson, former Manchester United prospect, Ashley Hunter, Tom Clark was captain of Preston North End in the Championship and playing week in, week out for them last season. And now he finds himself ploughing away in League 2, which is strange. Obviously, though, they've just lost the manager, Graham Alexander. I don't know if they'll have a new manager when the game happens. It's currently, like I said, Thursday the 29th, and Paul Scholes is still in charge of the club as far as I'm concerned. I haven't double-checked, but I'm sure with the amount of money they've got, they'll bring in some sort of fantastic world-class manager. As they did when they brought in Graham Alexander in the National League. That was a surprise. He was in League 1 with Scunthorpe at the time, doing really well, pushing for the playoffs, and left for the National League Salford. Bit out of nowhere, really, wasn't it? But Nevertheless, yeah, Salford are taking on Oldham Athletic. Oldham, I know quite a lot about. So for just being dropped downstairs. Oldham, a team that I know quite a lot about just due to, again, mutual friends. Cameraman who records our YouTube videos, Jack, otherwise known as Dingo. There'll be a link somewhere towards his music that he currently does, which is really good, called Prod by Crib. Yeah, he's an Oldham Athletic fan and goes to the games and stuff like that. And he obviously tells me a lot about it. But they've been, again, a bit like Salford. Very yo-yo form right now. Bet Southend United 2-1, lost to Port Vale, drew with Carlisle. Bet Bolton 2-1, lost to Morecambe. Bet Doncaster, drew to Colchester. It's a bit like they could not pick up momentum, and again, things aren't looking good, to be honest, for Oldham. Currently sitting in 20th position, a lot going on with the board there. I am going to say, I can't pronounce his name, Lemsagam out, is that right? I have no idea. Abdul Lemsagam out, because he is the owner behind the club who's been messing everything up. They've had to close one of the stands because of him not following some sort of safety precautions, which are required of a League 2 club, not putting money into the club, and then he's taken over the management sort of what's going on, such as Dino Mamria was in charge of the club. Then he was kind of forced out due to the fact that Lemsagam wanted to get involved. Same with Paul Scholes. In fact, when he was in charge of them, Lemsagam wanted to get involved, and so Paul Scholes walked away from the club. I believe it was less than a month after being in charge, which says it all about this guy's character. It must be so hard to work with. And Harry Kuehl right now, I believe, is tested positive with the coronavirus or something like that, and his assistant's been in charge. They've been getting wins under his assistant manager, so maybe he should be getting the job full time. Nevertheless, Oldham, they've got a very good squad. I'm going to just say that, put that out there first. I'm not going to blame Harry Kuehl for their league position, because I think Oldham will pick it up. But they've got some decent players. Conor McAlhaney up top is an absolutely quality striker, League 1 level. They brought him in from League 1 from Fleetwood, I believe it was, and he's been doing really well for them. Cameron Borthwick-Jackson was obviously played for Manchester United not long ago. Ian Lawler, formerly of Doncaster. What's his name? Keylor Davies Dunn or something like that. I think Keylor Dunn Davies. Keylor Keylor Dunn. Sorry about that. I've been watching him closely because I know in the friendlies he was their main sort of player, and he's been doing really well in that number 10 position. I really like the look of him, and I think he's been doing great for them. Bobby Grant as well on loan, currently from Wrexham. Bit of a strange loan move to go upper league. But then one of the main men for them is definitely Zach Durnley. Got the winner, I believe, in like the 91st minute against the 89th minute, sorry, against Southend on Tuesday. Formerly of Manchester United, is one of their prospects. He loves the club, I believe. He was on there on loan, then came back permanently, so something he must like about that club. He's been doing very well for them, and I think he could be pivotal in their chances this season, along with Danny Rowe. Obviously, he was one of the best striker in non-league at the time when he was there. I haven't got Wikipedia, which is annoying, because I wanted to actually check his stats, because he was absolutely crazy for Fylde with some of the goals he was getting. He was getting 40 goals a season, 30 goals a season, National League North to the National League, very close to getting Fylde promoted from the non-league stage as well. Before, unfortunately, now they're being relegated since he's left, which says everything you need to know. They've also got Alfie McAlmont, who is on loan from Leeds United, very highly rated by Leeds fans that I know. Yeah, he hasn't really been getting into the team so far, but he's been described as just a very basic central midfielder. He'll just pick up the ball, do the easy pass, which is sometimes what you need. Nevertheless, I'm gonna give Oldham the victory here, just for the fact that I like them a lot more than Salford. Nobody likes Salford. Whereas Oldham, they need to pick up form. They just come off a victory against Southend, which was very lucky, I suppose. I'm going to have to give it Salford. Oldham, they're not in good form. They've only just beaten bottom of the league, who are going to get relegated. And Salford pushing for the playoffs. I'm going to have to go for Salford victory, especially the fact it's at home at Salford as well. Won't mean as much with no fans being there, but yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Salford. I'm going to back Danny Rowe for a goal. Might as well, now that I've bigged him up. But nevertheless, that is the complete rundown of the... Sorry, just a second. That's a complete rundown of the Sky Bet League 2 games, I guess, for the upcoming Halloween weekend, alongside, obviously, the table. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a... Well, you can't even leave a like. Sorry, I'm thinking that we're still on the YouTube stage. We are doing YouTube episodes. I'm not too sure whether this episode will actually be going up on YouTube, or if it'll just be exclusive to Spotify... I've completely forgotten what else it's on. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor. I'm not sure if it's going to be exclusive yet. It probably will be going up on YouTube, but at a later date, maybe one day later, because obviously it's got to go out for the actual fixtures for Saturday. Nevertheless, I don't know what I'm on about now. I'm cracking on. That's going to be the end to this week's episode of the Benchwarmers podcast. If you want me to see me, make this into a weekly thing where I discuss League 2, mainly because that's what I specialise in. I watch it week in, week out, then let me know. Myself, I'm going to have some very personal news coming soon, which is going to be really good. Hopefully for the podcast, because it may mean that myself and Josh can do more around the non-league level, going to games, doing match reports, even maybe doing podcasts at games. We have big plans for Monday night where myself and Josh will be travelling to the Horsefall Stadium as Bradford Park Avenue host Boston United. We've got a few mutual acquaintances, as you've seen, between both those sides, such as Richard Borzak, who is a Boston United chief scout. You can obviously check out the podcast that we did with him on the YouTube. But yeah, that's going to bring the end to this week's episode of the Benchwarmers podcast. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, let us know on social medias, such as my Twitter. And yeah, let me know if you want to see this become more of a regular occurrence. And we'll see you all next week.